As the cloud pot of smoke dissipated around an old Harlan's head, an antsy, pock-ridden face, responsible, bared its yellow teeth with a sneer. Saying we're too old to trick or treat? What are you, the police? No, but they would be on their way if you don't get off my stoop. Your parents too, Tanner. The asthma of the stale beer and bruised ego gently waffled ways as Tanner and his Maltony crew grudgingly retreated to the dimly lit, leaf-laden streets. The 4 teenagers stood in the shallow light of the nearby lamp, a few houses down. What a dumbass. We should egg the place. Nah, I got a plan, but you're all chickens to probably won't be down. What you have in mind, Tan? The young man revealed the devious idea of cohorts who were more than enthusiastic about it. The goal? The whole lot of Harlan's homemade mini pies, the only non-mass-produced treat that hasn't been thrown away by parents at the end of the night. For a good reason, the parents wanted a bite. Won't he know it was us, though? Fat Matt piped up. He was certainly saw you for your costume. Well, we'll just have to ensure that he doesn't see us then. That means you're out, fat ass. Tanner peeled the cheap dollar store skeleton mask from the fat mask's face, donning it as he and Sender cronies hopped over the fence to the Harlan neighbor's backyard. About 20 minutes went by before Matthew began to feel concerned. He was patient, was evident by his trying to help friend group, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Within the next 10 minutes it had dawned on him. They probably succeeded and left him behind. Assholes, not much as a text or nor response that he was sent. There's no way he'd been caught, or Harlan would have called the cops for sure. Another 5 minutes later, Matthew was on his way to Tanner's house. No, he ain't home yet, but you could tell him that he's better off not coming home if he wants to avoid a whooping. The door slammed shut on Matt's face, and it was evident that Tanner's dad had found out about the beer, or rather the lack thereof. Tanner's pa was talk enough, and he would soon lick a toad, then give his son a lick in the belt. He checked the other fella's house too, not rushing him to answer the damn phones after the 5th by unfortunately. Matthew was stumped. The last place Matthew wanted to visit was his own house. Unlike Tanner, he didn't have the luxury of a father that was all talk. In fact, he had no dad to speak of. Just a mom, who smoked a lot of cigarettes. Cigarettes that were never found themselves snuffed out properly, unless you call his arm an ashtray. That nasty smell was the least of his concerns. Eventually, Matthew found himself at the back of the scene of the crime. Old Man Harlan's house was the only one with its lights on. He couldn't tell how long he had been watching and wandering. Suddenly, a warm yellow light bathed in this glow. The door opened and a silhouette of Mr. Harlan stood squarely in front of the frame. Little late for trick-or-treating, isn't it, son? Yeah, I guess so. I lost my friends, Matthew stammered. You lost them, or they lost you? Matthew's face turned to somber. It would be the first time since they've ditched him. Maybe he was probably playing the fool by looking for him. Why don't you come inside? I could use a hand. Matthew didn't need to think twice. This could be what he needed, while his friends had to resort to trickery, and he could get some pie, though, in this honest means. It didn't turn out to be so easy, however. Rolling dough, the packing filling, whenever Mr. Harlan looked away, he snuck a mouthful of sweet velvety mints. Why don't you help me with this sauté for the next batch? Mr. Harlan said, as he guided Matthew to the large pot on the stove. Matthew began to stir the mixture, as the old baker began to dump ground meat and some other sort of thick pink sauce into the pot. Is that meat? I always thought the pies were some kind of fruit mix. There is fruit in sauce, but you can't complete it with the next texture of substance of chunk. Susie O'Hara loves your pies. She's vegetarian, Matthew said enthusiastically, as a grin broke on his face. I guess we'll have to just keep our little secret, won't we? Harlan smiled warmly. Time seemed to fly by. Before he knew it, Matthew had a freshly baked Harlan pie in front of him. Go ahead, son. dig in. Before Harlan's words had finished leaving his mouth, the pie was being stuffed into Matthew's. Deliciously smooth, creamy, sweet, and now that Matthew had thought about it, he could see how the filling was meat all along, although it certainly was well masked for the other ingredients. For how delicious it was, there was something off about the pie. It was a little too dry. You know, I never had a helper with before. It was nice. Would you like the pies? Harlan said, sliding in another front of Matthew. Delicious, sir, but there's Something caught Matthew's eye, sending a chill down his spine, halting his appetite. A familiar skeleton mask, speckled with blood, peeked up from a beer bin near the back door. Harlan's smile faded. You were saying? Matthew's heart began to race. Go on, please. I'm open for criticism. Matthew took a deep breath. They're a little drier than I remember. Ah, well, the meat's usually a little fattier, so I suppose I could start another fattier batch, Harlan said, as his face darkened. Or we can keep this our little secret.